seen more people get injured than I have from 2015, from last year's WrestleMania to this year's WrestleMania. More people have got injured than I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's real. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on. They're calling this so many people have gotten injured this past year that they're calling this. Have any of y'all heard this? They're calling this the injury era now. Like, we went from the golden area of pro wrestling to the what they call it, the rock and wrestling connection, I guess, in the mid '80s when MTV started to partner with WWE or WWF at the time. And they called it the New Generation area when Hogan left. WWE and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels started to become bigger names. Then they called it that, then from the New Generation era came the Attitude Era, which most people would say that was the greatest era ever in wrestling. I don't know about that. I think a lot of things were great in the Attitude Era, but sometimes I think people hype the Attitude Era up more than what it was. Yeah, a lot of the in-ring segments and a lot of the storylines were awesome and amazing and epic. But the wrestling itself, the actual pro wrestling, wasn't that great in the Attitude Era, to be honest. It really wasn't. People were not having 5-star matches in the Attitude Era. They just weren't. They just were not. Then after the Attitude Era, you got into what's called the Ruthless Aggression Era. To me, that was the greatest time in wrestling. Not the Attitude Era, but that was the era of wrestling right after WCW went out of business in 2001. So from about 2002 to like the mid 2000s to like up until the Chris Benoit thing in 2007. To me, that's the greatest stretch of wrestling. That's when a lot of the storylines were pretty good and the wrestling was great, was amazing. During that stretch. To me, that's the greatest era of wrestling. Then from that era, you go into the PG era with John Cena Randy Orton were probably the top stars in the PG era. And now they're saying then when CM Punk and Daniel Bryan got to the top, they were calling that the reality era. And now they're saying we're entering a new era, and they're calling it the injury era, because it seems like every week, no lie to me, and people that watch wrestling as much as me, tell me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it seem like every week you're reading about somebody new getting injured, or somebody getting re-injured, or somebody's going to be out for months every week for the past, I don't know how many weeks. People are getting injured left and right. They're dropping like flies. And WWE has such a deep roster, even with NXT and with guys they haven't even brought up to the main roster yet. They have such a deep roster. That's the only reason why they're not in trouble. But if it wasn't as deep as it is now, they would be in deep trouble. With everybody that's out. I mean, it's still going to be a pretty good WrestleMania. I expect it to be pretty good. But I don't know if WrestleMania is going to be good as it could have been if so many people weren't injured. So many top guys weren't out. WrestleMania could have been a lot better than what it is. It's still going to be a good show. But you look at all the guys that are out right now, from the main top guys like John Cena, Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, Antonio Cesaro. Who else? I know I'm missing somebody. Daniel Bryan, he got injured and had to retire. imagine how much better WrestleMania would be if those 5 guys were able to be on the show. It's good now. It's going to be good. WrestleMania is going to be good. I'm one of those people that I subscribe to the theory that WrestleMania will always be good no matter what. Not that every WrestleMania has been really good, because there's been some WrestleManias that weren't so great. But WrestleMania is still going to be better than a normal event because it's WrestleMania. It kind of is. I agree with CM Punk when he said that, I think on Colt Cabana's podcast. He said WrestleMania is the draw. I agree. WrestleMania is WrestleMania. It's a big deal no matter who's on the card, no matter who's on the show. But I just really do think it would be that much better if those 5 guys were able to participate this year. They would all have hot spots on the card. And now it's getting to where people that are not even huge stars are getting injured and are getting hurt to the point to where they're not going to be on the show. They're not going to be on, they're going to be out for months and months. Guys like Luke Harper and who else just got hurt? Somebody else I was reading. Oh yeah, Alberto Del Rio and other mid-carders. A lot of the mid-carders are getting hurt now. And that hurts the company because, yeah, you only have so many top guys anyway. Like I said, there was only like 5 guys and Daniel Bryan retired. And so really, you only have so many top spots, but the mid-carders, you need as many mid-carders as you can because those are the guys that really carry the show from show to show. So when they start getting hurt, unless you bring up guys from NXT and you bring up guys from developmental, you're going to have a problem at some point. When you are a WWE superstar, it's like that. It's very, very, very difficult. So my hat's off to those guys. I know, even if I didn't have the brain cyst or the tumors in my brain, as much as I love professional wrestling, that's the title of this episode, why professional wrestling is the love of my life. And it really is the love of my life. I love it more than anything. The truth is, except maybe my mama, and maybe, certain people in my life, but other than that, pro wrestling is definitely high. This is really up there. I do love wrestling. I'll always be a wrestling fan, even though stuff that happens that I don't like. I will always watch wrestling, and I'll always get into wrestling. Entertaining me and other people like me. And wrestling has always been there for me, when I was sick, when I've been ill, whether it's me going through chemotherapy, going through radiation, which I've been through. That's another podcast for another time. But wrestling, my father died, my grandfather died, my grandmother died. Whenever I went through something in my life, when I went through a bad breakup, I've gone through some pretty bad breakups too. Been engaged twice, but I've never been married, so you figure that one out. Pro wrestling has always been there for me. I've always been able to turn to it. It's always entertained me and filled a void that I've had in my life. And I don't know if I would have made it this far without having wrestling in my life or being able to watch wrestling. So that's why I'm not like a lot of the other internet hardcore wrestling fans that really get bent out of shape. Like the whole Roman Reigns thing. Roman Reigns is a guy that's in the main event to face Triple H in 7 days at WrestleMania 32. And people losing their shit about Roman Reigns getting pushed and Roman Reigns being in the spot that he's in. A lot of people are not liking that. But as far as somebody getting pushed or a certain storyline going a certain way, I never really get that bent out of shape about that. It's not that serious to me. You know, if it's something I don't like, and I don't like everything that happens in wrestling, I don't really have any control over it, so it wouldn't matter whether I liked it or not. But it never really bothers me as much as it bothers other people. So, because wrestling is regardless if what I want to happen happens, I'm still going to watch the show. I'm still going to go to the shows. I go to WrestleMania. Somebody asked me the other day, do you go to WrestleMania every year? And it's like, I'm going to try to do that now. Whenever it's in my area, eventually they're going to have one overseas eventually. I truly believe that. They're going to have WrestleMania overseas. That's going to be the first one I'm probably not going to be able to go to. But anytime it's in the continental United States, yeah, I'm going to try to be there. I'm going to try to show up. Whether it's Chicago, or whether it's the West Coast, or it's up north, or there's down south. Hopefully one day we have a WrestleMania in Alabama. That'll be big. But that'll help a lot of businesses around here, if they ever do that. So one day maybe they will. That'll be great. Now I go to that one too. So wrestling, it's been a big part of my life, and I love wrestling. And yes, I'm a wrestling fan. And all y'all probably knew that about me because of all the wrestling stuff that I post. But I had to reiterate on my podcast because I wanted to do a wrestling podcast for so long. And, I've been talking about Batman versus Superman, and I've been talking about, had other episodes on other things, but I finally got to do this wrestling podcast. And I really haven't even talked about WrestleMania, and I'm out of time. So I'm going to have to do another WrestleMania podcast where I really just talk about WrestleMania. But what I did talk about today, I think I succeeded. I talked about my love for wrestling. So that's going to be all. I'm going to wrap it up. And keep listening to my podcast. I'm not sure if you heard my last episode, episode 7 of Black Angus Easter. It was a really good episode. You should go back and listen to it. I'm going to be resharing it all day. I'm about to post this episode. I'm going to put it up too. But go back and listen to episode 7. Go back and listen, scroll down and listen to all my episodes. They're all pretty good. Some are really good, though. I would say episode 2, What About Your Friends? Episode 5, Why I Don't Give a Fuck What You Think. That was the name of the episode. And episode, episode 7, that I just did this, I recorded earlier, a Black Angus Easter, and then this episode, why professional wrestling is the love of my life. But I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you for listening. Please like, listen, comment on my podcast, share my podcast. I'm gonna be loading all of these up on YouTube at some point today. I'm probably gonna do a Walking Dead podcast. Look out for that. And I might do one more podcast after that too, but I haven't picked a topic to talk about. But it's going to be a good topic. I'm going to do another good one. So I'm probably going to do 2 more as of today because it's only like 3 in the afternoon. I can do another couple of podcasts. I can talk all day and all night. You'd be very surprised how much I can run my mouth. But anyway, thanks for listening and keep listening. And thanks for the support. I'll holler.